Today's video is sponsored by our friends at PGX Grading Services. Are you sick of CGC's corporate shenanigans? Make the switch to PGX. Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of Codename New 202. Hi, I'm your presenter, Shabu Are You. Well, we're going to start off the month of June in grand style with the epic PGX unboxing video. Now, these books are actually significant in what's currently going on Disney Plus, or what will be going on Disney Plus. We got books that affect the Obi-Wan series, MsMarvel. I mean, these books have been picked up, and I speculated on them a while back. And of course, thanks to the PGX team. With the recent news of CGC's kind of being not forthcoming in their transparency as far as removing certain features from their slabs, that has gotten even the diehard CGC guys, youngsters, a little bit up in arms. Now is I'm echoing these things because I've been saying it for the past 2 years. Now is the time to just support the other smaller grading companies like PGX and EGS, because they are truly owned by fellow fans, small businesses trying to appeal to a fan base, not a board or spreadsheets and all that nonsense. And that's what I enjoy and why I made the switch from CGC to PGX a long time ago, is that level of customer service and just a desire to put a product out there that their customers will thoroughly enjoy. And again, to the detractors who base things off a 2005 blog or something, kind of putting down PGX, that itself should be, I mean, come on. Unless you have experienced, and all the people that I've seen have actually experienced and utilized PGX, echo the same things that I'm saying to you. You get a quality product, a transparency as far as grading, and I think those are two things that you could feel good about, and as far as investments now and in the futures market. So without further ado, let's begin this exciting month and see what we have to showcase for you guys out there. Let's go. Alrighty, so we just wrapped up Star Wars Celebration for 2022, and boy, did we get a plethora of amazing content. I know I was able to catch a little bit on YouTube live stream. Despite my weariness for Disney Star Wars, you got to watch other episodes regarding that. But the other thing is the much anticipated Obi-Wan series dropped, and I just finished watching episode 3, and it has met my expectations. I think it's fun, it's entertaining and engaging. I'm not too critical of it because it is what it is, it's entertainment. But regardless, the point is that with all of this stuff going on in modern Disney Star Wars has actually had a positive impact on the comic books. Case in point, we're looking at a beautiful Star Wars issue number 2. And this book has been skyrocketing up the charts as of late. Why? Because it's the actual first appearance of key characters such as Obi-Wan, Han Solo, Chewie, Jabba the Hutt, Greedo, and the Millennial Falcon. So that's what makes this book highly sought after by collectors, is because it's a plethora of key characters that make their first appearance. And boy, did PGX knock this one out of the park. And I wanted you to note that with the Star Wars Marvel comic series, is they had first and second and even third printings. The second printing split into two houses. One was the Whitman press, and then there was the regular press that they had. I actually have the second print of the regular one, but I opted to submit the Whitman edition to get cleaned and pressed. And that's the other thing I wanted to point out, is that I utilize PGX's clean and press service. And you can't see it from where you guys are, but when you hold your book up, you could actually see it kind of compressed, and the colors are so vibrant. When I submitted this book as it is, it probably would have gotten a 5 or maybe a 6.5 or something like that. But they boosted this up to a 7.5, a beautiful 7.5, if I may add. And that's what it's all about. When you have this as a presentation on display, people are not going to care about the number. They're going to care about how the book looks and how eye candy it is. And again, here's the picture of the back. And when you look at white, white is very difficult to keep clean. And PGX did a phenomenal job making the back, the white here, very presentable and looking beautifully. Colors are so, I can't understate that enough, is that the colors are so beautiful and vibrant from when I first sent it in. So this is a fantastic job and a key book. If you're looking to pick this up, prices are pretty high, but don't be ashamed to get the second prints. Look for this Whitman edition and the regular prints. Those are where the great values are and the most for potential growth. That second printing. I know people will be like, oh no, first or nothing, but don't be that dumb. Second printing is a viable option and one that is really smart if you look at most efficient way and most practical way to utilize getting those key books that you're looking at. So don't be afraid of second printing. And again, what a great job. I like the fact that this is a 35-cent variant. If you remember, Marvel was throwing, normally they were 30 cents, but they would test the markets by putting in 35 cents. And, just to test, and the fact that this is a 35-cent Whitman edition is kind of like a little bit of a deep dive into the book. So Star Wars issue number 2. So the next Star Wars book we're going to feature is another key first appearance for an iconic character. And I'm talking about Star Wars number 43, the first appearance of Lando Calrissian. Billy D. Williams, that cool Coors Light. But again, this is beautifully done. This one got an 8.5 to my surprise. And again, a beautifully done book, a key book. Again, what's mind-boggling is we went through the entire prequel episodes, and these books just sat there pretty much not getting that much attention. Suddenly, like with the modern comic era, these books have skyrocketed in demand. Even these youngsters are targeting these first appearances. And if you have these books, is why I'm doing this, is so you're educated to put them aside, to get them graded, to protect your books for the future. And they knocked this one out of the park. And PGX notes here, it's part 5 of Empire Strikes Back movie adaptation. The pinups inside are by all these people, and Lando Calrissian's first comic book appearance. So a key, and we also know that, what's his name? Danny Glover? The guy who played Lando in Solo, he's going to be doing a Disney Plus spin-off titled Lando. So this is definitely a book to buy and put aside for when that series debuts on Disney Plus. But again, a beautiful done book. I love the colors, so vibrant. I also utilized the clean and press service by PGX for this book as well. I mean, you have to, for such a key character in the Star Wars mythos. You want to pony up a little bit. It pays for itself, believe me. Just adding on that, few dollars to utilize that service. I know there's third-party people that do it. Just educating you guys out there. I stick with in-house because it's good to have everything done in the same house instead of sending it to a third-party clean and press and then having them send it out to the grading company. It's just like, I got enough to worry about. I don't need to deal with all that. And the level of service and care that PGX does for their clean and press service is absolutely astonishing. So the before and afters that I've seen and showcased to you guys, it is worthwhile. So Star Wars issue number 43, First Lando Calrissian. Woo! Alrighty, so the next book we're going to showcase, we're going to still stick with the importance in Disney Plus, and that we're going to show issue number 5 of MsMarvel. This is a beautiful looking book, a phenomenal job done by PGX. We got a 9.6 on this, and you got to remember, back in the early 2000s, the paper that a lot of the comic book companies were using was absolutely shit. I mean, of course, you know, they doing the corporate thing and finding the most cheapest option that was available. So a lot of people, and I was out of the comic collecting, you know, I was working and finishing up college. So this was that era where, you know, you move on to different things. But getting back into comics, I'm starting to realize, like, yeah, in the early 2000s, the paper quality used by Marvel, DC, man, Valiant was the worst. You're going to see that when I do the video game comic book series. Yeah, that's going to be pretty cool. I'm going to give you suggestions on targeting video game based comics. So that's going to be a really cool issue. But anyway, MsMarvel hits close to home. It's like my cousin Mahi. This is what she's wearing is called a shalwar, and this is a dupatta. So that's the shawl that they wear for Indian Pakistani girls. And the fact that that's representation from Marvel. I know some people saw the trailer and were kind of disappointed with it, but you got to understand that these young Avenger characters aren't meant for us. They're meant for our children. So we're supposed to watch it with them as they develop their fondness like we do for Peter Parker and, you know, the Human Torch, or even Dick Grayson, these teenage-based characters that for this generation. So when you watch the Disney Plus series, do it with your youngsters, because that's who it's meant for. It's not meant for us old folks. So, but still, regardless, it's kind of cool to learn about these characters that came after our heyday. And you'll see that I've kind of having a field day learning about these new young Avengers like Kate Bishop, like Ms. Marvel here. Siri would be heavily featured. Riri Williams, the Ironheart, is another character. So these books are actually advantageous for us to learn so we could enjoy with our children. That's what they're meant for. And boy, did PGX knock this one out of the park. Now, just for shits and giggles, in an earlier unboxing, I showcased MsMarvel issue number 1. So this is from the same series. This is her, I think, second solo adventure, solo series. You know, she was first introduced in a Captain Marvel issue, and she's basically a fangirl. From what I'm hearing, that the Disney Plus series is going to be slightly a little bit different as far as where her origin, her powers come from. They're going to be in her bangles or something. And if you know Indian Pakistani girls, they like to wear bangles. Chudia is what they're called. So that's kind of interesting to incorporate that. But again, it just, I'm really excited because I mentioned about G.I. Joe issue number 283. Finally getting a G.I. Joe character that is me, that looks like me. So now that there is a character for, you know, the young girls out there, even girls that are non-brown can identify with this. And that's the beauty with Peter Parker, is that everybody can identify, and these characters are to show that everybody is American, that we have the same things, we face the same situations that everybody else does, and it brings us all together. And truly what makes us American. And that's why I'm really excited about this book. And the back came out beautifully, 9.6. And this is the Women of Power variant homage to a Captain Marvel issue number 1 from 2012. And that's all noted on the label. See that? CGC. PGX goes the extra mile and makes everything accessible and legible for you guys to learn. Alrighty, so this next segment, I'm actually going to break away from tradition and I make an announcement that PGX is actually exploring grading magazines. That's right. Things like, for example, Sports Illustrated. There's a big market, much to my surprise, for magazines and memorable magazines like Newsweek, Time, Sports Illustrated. Key moments that were captured on magazines. And we all know that magazines is a dying media as well. So what better way than to explore that avenue for the fan base? So what I'm going to show you is actually the prototype for PGX's diving into grading magazines. And this is the first layout. Basically, this is a Elvira Femme Fatale's magazine. It's like a horror. Remember in the 90s from Tower Records, they would have horror shows and monsters and stuff like that. So this was one of those monster-based magazines in the 90s. Which one? This came out in 97. So again, this is going to be the layout. I mean, you see it's just like this, but it will look like a traditional slab, but they just wanted to showcase the layout of what it will be. And this book, I think there's a really good market for this, and I would like to have everybody's comments regarding getting magazines graded. And this is something that's you guys have an impact and feedback for them to continue with this endeavor, to see if this is a viable thing. Again, fan service, that's what it's all about. It's not dollars and cents, but of course they have to, they have to do the research and get the patent for a bigger slab to being able to encapsulate a magazine. But this is a beautiful, book. What do you think? But of course you guys know that I'm a big fan of Elvira, so this is really nice, and I think that there is a market for this, and just something that I wanted to throw out there for the fan base so they could weigh in on their opinions. And when it comes to magazines, it's the same thing like with comic books. I'm learning a little bit as well, because it's a totally different animal. But this is the 1986 SI, and you got to make sure you don't have the address thing. Like, try to go for that, because that actually takes, in magazine grading, that takes a chunk of out in grading. But there's quite a bit of a collection I have of magazines from back in the day, and I think a lot of people do, especially these. So they're all like Elle Macpherson's first appearance, Kathy Ireland's first appearance, like all of these iconic people's first appearance. And they have a big market for them. The next book we're going to feature from PGX is a book that's been trending like out of nowhere unexpectedly, and that is Voltron #1. That's right, the first appearance of Voltron. And if you're a Gen Xer, you got G.I. Joe, Transformers, He-Man, and Voltron make up the big four right there. So again, I love Voltron. I mean, if you're a boy, robots, cats, and magic. So everything that incorporates Voltron was a hit. It's funny, the story of Voltron was the wrong lion-based robot show, because I would recommend watching our good friends at the Toy Galaxy, The History of Voltron. Check that out, because Voltron was an accident, and just to think that it was an accident makes it even more hilarious, the fandom and how huge it is. And I'm in a lot of Voltron groups just as much as I am in G.I. Joe. Now, what's interesting is I picked this book up when it was on the low. I'll be honest, I picked this book up for $12, and it's a newsstand variant. And then literally the next week, I think an announcement came of a live action series being planned or something with Amazon, and this book shot up through the charts. I feel bad for the guy who sold this to me because he's probably kicking himself in the teeth, because we're seeing high grades, regular direct editions going over $300. And the fact that I got this book raw for 12 bucks, a newsstand variant, is a hit. And again, this was made by a company called Modern. So it's not the big two, Marvel and DC, or even, of course, Image came a lot afterwards. But this is 1985. So the paper quality on these is absolutely shit, because it's not the two big publishers. The fact that this is a Modern book, but this is a very respectable, very wonderful 5.0. This book was also clean and pressed by our friends at PGX, and it came out phenomenal with a white backdrop. You don't understand with that, the fact, the age, the paper quality, the color, all these variables had so many things against this book. For it to come out the way it did in this is absolutely a win-win. I am ecstatic. And a newsstand. So somewhere this was sitting in a 7-Eleven. And boy, when I first got it, it looked it. But you could see in the back, like there's kind of like a marker there. So that knocks it down a little bit. And there's nothing PGX could do about that. But again, even the background is white. Now, the only thing that I'm a little sad about, and again, this is a minor thing, is that they didn't say that this is Voltron's first appearance. And it is. That's the thing with this issue. It's Voltron's first comic book appearance. And again, this is another thing to spec on. Those iconic Japanese animated series that came out. Those are good issues to target. I know Robotech, there's been a zillion times they try to reincarnate that, all failures. There's also Star Blazers. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but it was the battleship Yamato. It had the best themes, one of the best theme songs, intros that in history. Like, if you feel like you're a sailor. But that's another franchise that's really big in Japan. Huge. Yamato. That's what they call it, the Yamato. Us, we call it Star Blazers. But those franchises are really important and keys to speculate on if you could find them, because their mythos is tough to find first appearances and stuff. But if you want to go down that avenue, that's something that adds advantageous for you. But again, this book, I can't rave about this book enough, because it's one of those books that should not be this, like, at all. Should not. And the fact that it turned out the way it did, looking beautiful. I mean, this is a 5.0, and I am through the moon about this. And of course, you got a nice drawing of Voltron. I don't know any of these guys. Henry Vogel, Dick Ayers, and Mac Fury. I think I've heard of Mac Fury before, but I don't know, maybe one of the guys who who knows everything about comics, would probably fill us in on that. So that's, again, I'm just as much about learning as you guys are out there listening. So, I've always heard that Socrates said that you should always be weary from someone that assumes that they know everything, because those are the people that are less receptive to new ideas. So know-it-alls are dangerous, basically. If you consider yourself a student, then that's someone you should consider listening to, their advice and recommendations. So I always consider myself to be a student in this genre, and to learn as much as I am able to teach. And I think that's the right way to go about it. Never assume that you're the best, always be humble and modest. But anyway, going back to this, again, you got the blazing sword, beautifully done. The colors are right with the lions. I think this is a fantastic book, and I am through the moon about that. Before I segue, I just forgot to point out one more thing. What's cool about the back of this book is that it's an advertisement for Panache Place. So I thought that was kind of cool that they included the advertisement for that toy line as well in this issue. Alrighty, so we're going to wrap up this episode and this PGX unboxing. And you guys know from history that I always end the episode with something significant, even more significant than what I already showed. And with the sad passing of George Perez and Neil Adams, the next book that I'm going to show you takes on a whole different meaning, in that he's a Gen X artist. And like, I just always feel that Neil Adams and George Perez, Larry Hama, unfortunately came around the wrong time. Because if they've come out in the 90s, they would have been as big, or if not bigger than the Todd McFarlanes and the Jim Lees and the Rob Liefelds. They are rock stars, and they would have been even more rock stars if they were out. I mean, they were out in the 90s, but you know what I mean. It's just that it's one of those things that, especially with Larry, I always felt like he's not getting his due credit in the modern comics. But lately, we've seen the same love given to George Perez and Neil Adams. That's why this book, Wonder Woman #1, summarizes everything that George Perez is about. And if you guys follow me on Instagram and Facebook, I've actually visited Kevin Smith's secret stash. So I picked this up while visiting the secret stash. And even Mike, if you guys watch Comic Book Men, Mike was there behind the counter. And at the time, George Perez was in hospice and not doing well. And Mike was like, that is a good pickup. Even Mike was like, yeah, that shows me that, you know, you're legit. You know, the fact that I picked up this issue in particular while George Perez was, you know, not doing too well. And again, this is such a beautiful book. The wraparound cover. This is one of those books that I recommend everybody try to get in their personal collections, because if you're going to get one Wonder Woman book, this is the Wonder Woman book to get. It is just beautiful, and PGX did a wonderful job with this book. When you look at the description, you have the first modern age appearance of Themyscira, Ares, Hippo, I don't know that the Olympian gods, the new origin of Wonder Woman, and wraparound cover. All of these details are noted in the PGX description, and it just looks phenomenal. I mean, I cannot rave about this book enough. Beautiful. And if there's any book that captures what George Perez was all about, this is that issue. So to have this in the personal collection, and you know, if I'm blessed to have a daughter, this is a book that I want to give to her. This is what womanhood and everything is all about: strength, power, compassion. Wonder Woman is so many things. She's not Gal Gadot. I mean, Linda Carter, yeah, it will always be my Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot did a great job portraying her, but the George Perez version is the definitive Wonder Woman for the ages. And with that, I'm going to conclude this unboxing episode. Special thanks to PGX. I highly recommend send a few books into both PGX and EGX. Unplug from big business. Give the smaller companies your business. It will pay dividends in the long run, not just for currently, but in future generations, to preserve this hobby going forward. I think that's the whole message that I like to give. And the fact is, these are cool books. They look amazing. And I hope that others are able to enjoy the renaissance in comic book collecting that I'm experiencing. you go through a stressful day, and it's just cool to dive into this world for a few minutes, for an hour or two, just to like get your mind off of just going to a different world. And it's been so therapeutic for me that that's what I want to pass on to you guys. Like, I know during these times with what's happened in Texas, all of this terrible stuff, it's just good to go to places like this and incorporate some of the ideals in real life, like extending a hand in friendship and helping someone up, regardless of what their background is, regardless of their color or faith. Be American in the sense that, what the Statue of Liberty symbolizes, what those stars and stripes, that, we are a country of compassion and care. And I think that that's the message that I like to portray to everybody out there. And I'm just glad you're with me on this journey. And again, a reminder, I will be on Peg Warmer's channel next week for an epic comic toy video that Peg Warmers has planned. So I'll have the link below. It's something to be, we might get a Cinemassacre, Kieran, if you watch Angry Video Game Nerd and all that stuff, he might join us. So it depends, but just stay tuned for that episode. Anyway, this is Shabu RU. The next time I'll see you, I'll be in the fighting city of Philadelphia. So have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.